Greetings, pen pals. This week I have a pen that was sent to me for review from the Aaron Pen Company. So thanks again to the Aaron Pen Company for sending this pen, and I'm going to be going into it and reviewing it like I would any other pen that I have. So this pen is called the Aaron Beta Flex Pen in Deep Ocean is the material. That is certainly a good name for this color. It is a very, very nice material. We'll get into that in a little bit. They also were nice enough to send me this pad, this what they call the Mozera dot grid pad. So you can see it's a nice nice dot grid pattern. So we'll be writing on that for this review as well. So there you go. So let's get into the pen here. So first of all, from a size perspective, it's a decently sized pen. Here it is compared to a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Metropolitan. You can see it's a bit longer than these pens and certainly a bit girthier. It also has some weight to it. Weighs in at 39 grams. There's a lot of sort of fairly premium materials here. It's a fairly heavy acrylic. There's lots of metal parts. There's a big metal piece on the section here. It's a cartridge converter pen, and it comes with a fairly nice piston style converter. But the materials are all fairly heavy and substantial. Let's get into that. So it's sort of almost like a duofold style pen, and I tend to use that term to refer to any pen that has the complementary black ends, which strictly speaking probably isn't correct, but that's just what pops into my mind. Has a nice cap band in gold trim. It says Aaron established 2020, and then it has a sort of Aaron pen nib style logo on the other side of the cap band. Trim rings on both ends. On the clip band terminating here, and a very, very substantial, very nice ball style clip. I love these style clips. A lot of Pilot pens have these, and as you know, I've always been if you watch this channel at all, I've always been a big fan of these pens. It's a screw to uncap pen, takes 1 1/4 turns to unscrew. All right, let's talk about this material now. This is a very, very nice blue wave material with a lot of translucency to it. With a lot of translucency to it, let's shine a light in there and get that in. I'm going to turn the main lights off and allow this to shine through here so you can see the translucency here. So it's just a very, very, very nice look to it, and I think looks really, really good. All right, let's get the main lights back on now. Like I said, it's a cartridge converter pen, and the converter was included. It posts nicely and deeply and quite securely. I think it's fine posted. You may find it heavy. It's certainly long enough to use unposted, so this works well if you're a poster or unposter. I am definitely a poster, and I definitely will be using this posted, but I could see how you might think it's a little long posted. Section is nice, conventionally sized tapered section with a bit of flare at the end. Now let's talk about the nib. I've not quite seen a nib like this, I have to say. So it's a gold colored nib. I don't believe it's a gold nib, but it's a gold colored nib. It's got a sort of almond shaped breather hole, very, very long tines, with what looks to be like a plastic feed. I don't believe that's an ebonite feed. A big B, I'm assuming is for beta, which is that I guess what they're styling this nib. And then along the tines, it has a little sort of I don't know, I guess what you call that, like splines or what have you, sort of etched into the nib. I'm not sure if those are functional or decorative or both, but they are what they are. But it's very, very long tines on the nib, that's about it aesthetically. So I'd say aesthetically and from a comfort and holding perspective, I think this is quite a nice pen. It does have a very sort of premium feel to it. I will say this feels like a substantial pen with well-made and quality quality materials to it. Speaking of premium, it does come in a quite nice box, so let's just show you that. It has this slide drawer here with a tab, velvet, nice velvet foam with velvet on top of it. Then the pen, and holds the pen well. So it is very, very giftable if that's something you are looking for. All right, as we always said, pens were meant to write, and of course I know you want to see how this pen writes, so I'm going to show you that right now. And we're going to show you that on this Herbin pad, by the way, that they sent along, so we can kill two birds with one stone. This is, by the way, looks like a nicely made pad. It has it says here it's 80 sheets, 160 pages, 80 GSM, which is grams per square meter, and it's 14.5 by 21 centimeters. So there you go. It is top stapled. The covers are this sort of nice, sort of very, very heavy, sort of faux leather material, which is nice, and it folds over. The pages do not. Are they perforated? No, the pages are not perforated, but they have this nice dot grid pattern on them. So anyway, let's see how this pen writes right now. If you'd like more information about either this pen or this pad or Herbin's pen company in general, I have the link in the show notes, or as you can see right here, they are contactable at herbinpen.com. Okay, what we're writing with is the Herbin's Beta Flex pen. And this nib is really quite something, actually, because it goes from a very, very, very fine. I would call this sort of without pressure an extra fine, or maybe even an extra fine. It's a very, very fine line. But if you put a bit of pressure on it, you can go all the way to a broad or a double broad. Now, this feathering here is really not good, but that's really a function probably more of the paper and the ink than the pen, obviously. So you can kind of ignore that feathering, and we're going to do some writing on Tomoe River paper a little later on, so that will hopefully mitigate that a bit. But I'm quite impressed by this degree of variation on the flexing. So like I said, you can go from this extraordinarily fine line to this quite broad line, and this pen is not railroading at all. So I'm quite impressed by this nib, I have to say. This is definitely quite doing the job well from a line variation perspective. But this feathering is really kind of throwing that whole aspect of it off. You know what? Before we do that, let's before we write on the Tomoe River paper, let's just take a look at it on our regular old Rhodia paper, shall we? Okay, so once again, let's say this is the Herbin Beta Flex pen, and so like we said, this goes from an extraordinarily fine line, we'll call that an extra fine or an extra fine, and again, can go quite broad without really railroading much at all. So this is I'd say that's a broad or even a double broad here. So that's actually pretty good. It's still feathering a bit, so that would lend me to believe that this ink, it does feather a bit. But look at this feathering versus this. So This pad is really not nearly as fountain pen friendly as Rhodia paper is. It's laying an awful lot of ink down when you flex it, so that would explain some degree of feathering, but this is feathering quite a bit more, quite a bit more than the Rhodia paper. So although this paper looks nice and feels nice, I would say if you're planning on laying a lot of ink down, this pad is probably not as good as Rhodia paper. Although I have to say, it is quite pleasant and quite crisp when you don't flex the pen. In other words, this fine line that this pen draws, this extra fine line, takes to the paper very well. But there is just, I think, way too much feathering on the broader line than on, say, with the Rhodia paper here. But I'm just quite impressed with this nib in terms of just the amount of variation that it can provide without railroading at all. That's better than even some of the more heralded noodler's nibs can do, or at least as well as some of the more heralded noodler's nibs can do. So I would say for a modern flex nib, this is quite good, and I am. You have to call me impressed with this, especially the starting point. I mean, this is an extraordinarily fine line. So to be honest, I've gotten people on this channel just saying, please recommend me a nib that just can write really fine, because I just love really fine nibs. I'm going to say that even if all you wanted to do is write a really fine line, this is a great pen for that. And then if you want to just push it just a little bit to get a slightly broader line, it works well too. But the out-of-the-box fine line on this is really something. And by the way, it is decently smooth, etc. So call me impressed with this nib, for sure. Anyway, I think that's what we're going to say about this pen for now. But let's talk about this ink now for a minute, shall we? Okay, this ink is from J. Herbin. And it is Bleu, Nuit. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly because I can't speak French. This is sort of a not particularly deeply saturated blue. Here's what the color card looks like for this one. Sort of, maybe a little bit like Ackermann Delft's Bleu, but a little more of a purple than that is. Again, a little less of a purple, say, than Montblanc Royal Blue. So it's maybe halfway between the Ackermann Delft's Bleu and the Montblanc Royal Blue. So sort of a lightly saturated blue, but again, a very nice color indeed. That is what this ink looks like on this Rhodia paper. Let's take a quick look at what it looks like on Tomoe River paper, shall we? Okay, here's, like we said, we have J. Herbin, Bleu, Nuit. And again, this is a sort of lightly saturated blue ink, but again, a pretty color. Don't get much in the way of any kind of special effects, shading or sheen or anything much like that. But again, a nice ink, good color, etc. So that is this ink. One thing that would be really nice, or four things that would be really nice, if you folks could please like, comment, share, and subscribe. That would all be very much appreciated by me. And as always, I sure hope you liked watching this video. My thanks again go to Aaron's Pens for providing the pen for review. And until we see each other again, have a great day. Bye-bye.